Good morning. Oh, wow. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of AKP Sports Talk. It is Thursday, December 28th. That is Ari. I'm Korea. Ari, I see your eyes are tuned on to that early SMU Boston College game right now. Obviously, one of the few games starting at 8 o'clock, 8 a.m. Pacific time, the Wasabi Fenway Bowl between SMU and Boston College. We've got a little action on this game, but we're going to get into our later plays throughout the day in a little bit. But first, Ari, how you doing on this Thursday morning?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Can't complain about sweating out a game this early, obviously. I think we both basically split even yesterday on our plays, so obviously not the best, but not the worst either, but we'll look to be better today, obviously.
Yeah, doing a quick recap of what happened yesterday. Going back into my plays yesterday, and I went 2-2 on the day. First, starting off with Virginia Tech, that was pretty sweat free throughout that second half. First half was looking a little concerning. Tulane was keeping it a close game in that ugly, ugly weather game. But Virginia, with just the weather and the turning over the ball over many times, forcing turnovers, against Tulane. They won by 21, so that was pretty sweat free. I definitely will gladly take that one. It was definitely a great look for that Virginia Tech team. They wanted it more. You could tell they wanted it more. They played with more energy. So that was a great win for Virginia Tech yesterday, minus 10.5. They won by over 20. So pretty sweat-free win in that second half. Going to West Virginia team total. Oh, that was heartbreaking. Oh, that was so heartbreaking. They obviously they only finished with 30 points, so did not get over that team total over 33.5. But if you saw that game, they had multiple chances. They drove down the field, 2 or 3 times, ending up in field goals. And the last time they were up 27 to 10. They were going for the field goal, but they run this incredible fake that goes all the way to the 1 yard line, and then all we need is a touchdown to cash the team total over, and then they go absolutely nowhere and go backwards. So you can't really beat yourself up after a tough loss like that. It was a good read, just West Virginia couldn't really execute in the red zone, and UNC's defense was actually playing a little bit better than I expected they would. So you can't really do anything about that one. Louisville, on the other hand, banned, just banned. It looks like they left their defense in Louisville, Kentucky, obviously, because who in God's name is Miller Moss? Now, okay, let's be real. Real college people know it. He's a respectable backup, but this man had 6 passing touchdowns against a top 16 defense. Like Louisville, you can't do much if you're getting torched especially at the line. They couldn't do anything one-on-one. Just too many skill players for USC. I thought the absence of the top skill players, guys like Dorian Singer and Caleb Williams and all those top key players that are potential first round picks. I thought with the absence of them, I thought Louisville would be able to capitalize on this second string, but
I think Singer played, but he only caught like one pass. So I don't know if he played the full game or not, but
maybe he only played like a few snaps or whatever. But it was definitely the Miller Moss show. Taj Washington, Austin Jones. It was definitely a USC kind of second string coming out party. So Louisville just couldn't do anything. Obviously, with the running attack was kind of their main form. With Guerendo on the ground, kind of carrying them back into this game, whether it's the second half or early in that first half. But Miller Moss had 6 passing touchdowns. You can't really do much there. So that was a tough loss. I'll take that as that was just a horrible lead. That line went down the way to 4.5 at kickoff, and I was confused as to why, because I didn't hear any opt-outs or anything. But Vegas just knew that Miller Moss is the next is that guy apparently. And then going into the final game yesterday, OK State -3. That was so sweat-free. Pretty much throughout that game, I knew OK State was kind of pretty much control the ground game. Honestly, they had a great game through the air as well. But for the most part, Ollie Gordon, kind of getting those key yards. He already had 50 yards, I think, on the first drive, or I think the first quarter against that Texas State, against Texas A&M defense that did lose a lot of key guys, but they still had some key defensive players in there. Obviously, tough scene to see on the first play for A&M, their quarterback, with the freakish, I think it was arm injury that literally on the first play of the game. Tough to see for Texas A&M. Your quarterback who you relied on after Johnson left for UNC, and all this turmoil with Jimbo Fisher being fired and all this stuff. Tough to see your quarterback go on the first drive of the play, but you can't really do much. I thought OK State was going to just control this game on the ground, and that's exactly what they did. So I'll take a 2-2 day. Should have been 3-1 with West Virginia, but you can't really finish in the red zone. And if you can't finish in the red zone, you're not going to get that many points. So, I'll take a 2-2 day as well, but we hope to be better going forward. Ari, let's do a quick recap of you yesterday. How'd you do?
Yeah, 1-1 day for me. Magic, bad bet. Sixers showed up. I think it was their first win of the year with that one B. They were 0-4 with that one B this year, and then they got their first win yesterday, and they crushed Magic. It was close, kind of into in the third quarter, and fourth quarter they just ran away with it. I think Pancaro was like 5 of 16. Wagner and Sags both had over 20, but just a bad. I mean, you're not going to win any games for 92 points, obviously. So that wasn't a bad bet. Then the Suns crushed the Rockets in the first half. I think they won by like 18. Wound up keeping the lead in the second half as well, so it would have been good either way. But yeah, 1-1 day for me.
Yeah, you mentioned the Magic first, and it was obviously just a tough beat. You mentioned that was the first road win for the Sixers without Embiid. So who
I think
would
just
thought
win in general. Yeah.
Oh, first win in general. Oh wow. So it just comes to show you that it was definitely just a bad look. I mean, who would have thought that the Sixers team would actually showed up? And then you mentioned the Suns first half. I mean, Eric Gordon dropped 30. Kevin Durant had like 10 assists at half. He was just diving out the ball pretty well. And the Suns were playing some good complementary basketball. Kind of got what they were used to playing. So first half was very sweat free. I think they led by at least almost 20 at halftime. So like you said, we'll take a 1-1 day, but we hope to be better going forward now. As we end the week on a positive note. But we're going to get into tonight's best bets. Obviously, we have some college basketball today. We got college football. We got the NFL. We got a big slate today for all sports. And obviously we have some games on right now. Obviously between SMU and Boston College at the Wasabi Fenway Bowl. So we have plenty of action today. I'm going to go straight into mine. For tonight, and I'm going to go straight into all my bowl games today. First, we're going to go to the Pinstripe Bowl in good old Yankee Stadium in New York. I'm taking Rutgers, Miami, and we're just going to take the under here. Under at 41.5. That's minus 112 on DraftKings right now, and it's not me fading. It's not me picking either side. I just don't like either team, and I don't like either offense. Rutgers, they have an okay-ish offense, but they have a really bad matchup against a good Miami defense that does not let you get many yards out. But the one thing about Miami is that they can't stop drives, and that'll be the one, one caveat for this under. Is Miami going to be able to stop, a slow-ish Rutgers offense? And that'll be the big question for me. And then you look at this Miami offense, who obviously did not really get themselves going. But then you see Rutgers, and their record kind of does not reflect who their competition, because they're 6-6, yes, the end of the year tough, but they had to play Ohio State. I believe they had to play Penn State. I believe they had to play Michigan, and I believe they had to play Maryland to finish their season. So Iowa. It was Ohio State, Penn State, and Iowa, and then Maryland. So you have three defenses, right, that are pretty much in the top 25 in terms of defensive efficiency, and then you have Maryland, who is already a bowl eligible team. So I believe, like I said, I think this Rutgers team, offensively is not the greatest, but I think they'll do just enough, potentially to get it done against Miami. If I did have a lean, I would lean Rutgers money line, but I've been burned so badly by this Rutgers offense before. And then Miami, they just don't have a good matchup against the Rutgers defense that is better. I will say, in terms of the air, their secondary is one of the better ones, not only in the Big Ten, but also throughout the country. In Miami, they have a lot more success through the air instead of on the ground. So, it kind of just plays in part, this Miami offense more toward the air. They don't really, especially under Cristobal, they're more of an air raid, I guess, per se. And, they're definitely going to have to rely on their run game for this game. But I just like the under. I think it's going to be low scoring. Obviously, in New York, it's not going to be a pretty game between Rutgers and Miami. I'm just taking the under. If I did have a lean, I would do Rutgers money line. I just think, the absences for this Miami team, and as well, I think Rutgers has played, a more harder schedule per se in terms of Miami. This Miami team is weird because this Miami team was at the top of the table, beating teams like A&M, but then they had that horrible loss to Georgia Tech where they just completely folded over themselves. This Miami team is too up and down for me. So I'm not taking either team. I'm just taking an under. I think there's not going to be that many points. Expect a very low scoring game, maybe like a 2017 type game, very close at the end, but maybe a field goal. But I'm taking that game to go under. And then I'm taking NC State, the Wolfpack. I'm taking them +3. I'm also sprinkling them on the money line, but just a little sprinkle. But I am confident in them covering the +3 at -110 right now on DraftKings against K-State. Look, this NC State team, obviously, they're going to be missing without their star defensive guys, and it's going to be a loss. But at the same time, this K-State team is missing so many pieces. They're missing, I want to say, 53% of their receiving offense in terms of just opting out or the portal, and that's huge. That's over half of your pretty much sole offense, right, gone because of just the portal and whatnot. And it's a tough look, but at the same time, with this NC State team and how they're pretty much hunkered down defensively. You look at K-State, and they're a pretty good defensive team at the same rate, but opt-outs play such a huge role in this, and I don't know why NC State is still a little bit undervalued here at +3. I think they win out this game in the Pop-Tarts Bowl. I don't think I don't think the edible mascot was enough to entice all these K-State guys to come back and play in this bowl game today. So I cannot believe we're gonna have to see someone take a bite out of the mascot tonight. But I do think NC State gets the job done. You look at this NC State defense. This is going to be a very defensive game. Both teams very defensively. I would lean K-State if this was during the regular season, because K-State would obviously be having pretty much all of their guys healthy, or just opting into the game. But you look at NC State, they're pretty much a top team against the pass. They can stop the run. They don't let you go down the field. They're pretty much one of the better defenses in the ACC. It's Peyton Wilson, obviously their star linebacker, who I believe declared for the draft. That's pretty much the only NC State's loss compared to K-State, who has lost so much offense. I'm taking NC State +3 in the Pop-Tarts Bowl, and I would hope to see someone take a bite out of the mascot today, hopefully on the NC State side for a win. And then finally in the game of the night in the Alamo Bowl, we're taking Arizona just straight up on the money line, -135. Ari, I know you're smiling when I say that pick right now. Look, I am just taking the fact that there is no Dylan Gabriel for this Oklahoma team, and that is a big reason as to why this Oklahoma team is a little undervalued right now. Now, yes, they're going to be going with Jackson Arnold, and I've seen some clips of him, and he can throw the ball, but in this spot, I think Arizona's offense is just the better offense right now in terms of who they have. The defense for Arizona has been more consistent all year, especially against the run, one of the better run defenses, not only in the Pac-12, but just throughout this, throughout the NCAA as well. This Arizona team has been a great story. Obviously, I think their total, you probably know a lot more, obviously, their total season win total was set at 5, and, they surpassed that with big wins over Oregon State, UCLA, Utah, kind of cementing themselves as a program again. And, Jed Fish has done a great job of kind of rejuvenating that team, after a lot of people had high expectations for them last year, but, not as many this year after obviously, only having a 5-win total, but surpassing that, going to an Alamo Bowl game to play against a good Oklahoma State offense, even though they won't be having their main guy in Dylan Gabriel, who's obviously already transferred to Oregon. I do like Arizona just straight up here in this game. Oklahoma does have a pretty good defense, but I just think that this Arizona team is going to do just enough. I don't know what it is, but they always find a way to just do just enough to get a win. Especially this is going to be, it's kind of crazy, but this year is going to be a regular season game potentially. Obviously, with the Arizona moving to the Big 12, so why not, get a little preview of that tonight? I'm taking Arizona just straight up on the money line, -135. I think they're the better team.
Is Oklahoma going to the SEC or?
Oh my gosh, that's right. You can't really keep up with all these teams anymore. So forgot Oklahoma's going to the SEC. So this is not a regular season game next year, but it should be. But conference, that's another discussion for another time. Anyways, back to my pick, Arizona money line. I think they're the better team. Even with Oklahoma still having some top tier guys, we really haven't seen much of them. And I know this Arizona team is obviously going to want to finish their amazing season off with a win, especially in the Alamo Bowl. So those are my 3 picks today. I'm taking Rutgers Miami in an ugly game, taking that under. It's just going to be bad. I mean, Rutgers football is very defensive anyway, and then Miami leans more toward their defense, especially with the bunch of key guys out, just opt out and all that stuff for Miami's offense. So give me Rutgers, Miami under. I'm taking NC State +3. I think the absences for K-State are going to be playing huge. I'm also taking NC State on the money line. The fact that 53% of your receiving core in terms of yard and offensive plays and offensive percentage is out. That's so huge for this NC State team. So I'm taking them +3. Like I said, also sprinkling on the money line. I think that's at +130. And then I'm also taking Arizona State. Arizona State. Oh my goodness. Arizona straight up on the money line. sorry, Ari. Arizona money line. I think Fafita is going to have a great day against that secondary. And then you mentioned just Arizona defensively, one of the better run defenses. I think that's what Oklahoma is going to lean on. Obviously not without Dylan Gabriel, but even with or without, I think Arizona's defense was going to do just enough anyway. I think they always have just enough. They're a little bit better in terms of tackling and coverage. And honestly, I think the big absences of Dylan Gabriel, most of that, and Leby and that offensive play calling is going to be really, really big for this Oklahoma team tonight. And I think it's going to be too much to cover against a Wildcat team that has a lot to play for right now. So give me Arizona tonight, NC State +3, Rutgers, Miami under 41.5. Those are my plays today. Ari, I know we have a Thursday night football game. I'm not even going to touch it because it is so ugly. The over/under is at 34, and the spread is at 7.5. Why even touch it? But if you have anything, what do you got today?
Yeah, I'm staying off it as well. It's rare I double down on a game, but I'm doing that tonight in this Arizona game. Arizona to just basically win the first half -0.5 and then cover. It's gone back and forth between 2 and 2.5 full game, but I mean I like it either way. Obviously Arnold's, I think he's a 5-star recruit, so obviously he's highly talented and everything. True freshman. I think he played in a couple games this year, but this is his first start. Obviously there is a big unknown with that, but we've seen what Fafita has done since he took over the job. And that was just, run away with the job. Like you talked about, the Arizona's defense has arguably taken the biggest step forward of maybe any team in the country from last year to this season overall, especially against the run. They were like dead last or maybe second to last in practice last year against the run. And then this year they were like top 3 or 4 against the run. Like you said, that's what Oklahoma's probably going to try to establish, just given the inexperience of Arnold on their center. And then Oklahoma's defense has been solid for the most part this year, but Arizona's faced their fair share of solid defenses. UCLA, Oregon State, and Fafita's held his own. So I'm taking Arizona both to win the first half basically, and then cover for a full game in this one. It should be a fun game tonight. I think not that you take a pick solely based on this reason, but I think Arizona is going to be more motivated in this one just because of the lack of success they've had the lack of success they've had the last few years. Whereas Oklahoma is a team that, this is just an every year type of thing for them going to a bowl game like this. So I think Arizona's going to be more motivated as well. I mean, they only have one player opting out, who's going to be potentially a first-round pick this year, and everybody else is playing. And they were asked, why some of them aren't sitting out who might be, second, third-round picks. And they talked about this being just how much this game means to them, how much they've wanted to play in a bowl game their whole college career, and why they stuck it out with Arizona, who is, a 1-win team just 2-3 years ago, all the way to a 9-win team, potentially 10-win team this year. I'm going Arizona for that not for that reason alone, but for part of that reason. And then NBA, my one pick, Pacers tonight, money line in Chicago. The Pacers have kind of been stumbling a little bit ever since their run in season tournament. They've lost like 5 of 7 or 6 of 8, something like that. But I like them here. Bulls are going to be without Vucevic, although Drummond really filled in well for him in their last game for the Bulls. I think he had like 25 points, 24 rebounds in their last game. But I like the Pacers here, coming off a win on the road. They're a 1.5 point favorite here. Pacers, Bulls. I mean, again, they're one of those teams that are just like so inconsistent, hard to tell. Like Cleveland last night, who overcame a 20-point deficit to beat Dallas in that game last night. I'm just taking the Pacers just to win the game tonight on the road in Chicago.
Yeah, you mentioned this Arizona team. I already talked about it a lot, but this Arizona team you mentioned, you obviously having a lot more, personal or, closer connections, just writing for the team and whatnot. You've seen, the transformation of, this whole program from being, 2 wins and, being near the bottom of the pack.
From losing to Northern Arizona at home to
exactly from losing NAU at home in a buy spot game for them all the way to now, being one of the better teams in the Pac-12 in its final year before going to the Big 12. And, you mentioned, the offense being pretty successful against any kind of defense. And, that's kind of been Arizona's big key successor, when it comes to these kind of big defenses like Oklahoma, who has one of the better defenses in the Big 12. You mentioned Arizona playing against teams like UCLA, Oregon State, who have one of the better defenses, some of the better defenses in, the Pac-12, and being able to adjust, and that's kind of what has been, Noah Fifita's big successor. The fact that he is able to do, whether it's pass zone, man zone, cover, whatever the defense is thrown at him, he's able to adjust, and make the right plays at the right time. And that's not being called a game manager. That's called, just, being a big leader. And I think that, this Arizona offense is really being slept on just throughout the country because of that. We haven't heard a lot of big success, for Fifita throughout this year, but it only started to come, probably around that coup game when, well, we're not going to get into that game now, but probably around that game, that's when the national headlines started to turn toward Arizona's way, and they've been rolling ever since. You mentioned defensively going from complete 180 in terms of stopping the run as well. I think this team will be doing a good job of that as well. And then one of the bigger things is them stopping teams in the red zone. Obviously 12th in defensive scoring efficiency. This team does not let you score points when you get to the red zone, and that's kind of the thing that Oklahoma has fed off of for years, or just this, especially this year. We saw a lot of Dylan Gabriel big plays, big explosive plays, but you mentioned now with Jackson Arnold and the 5-star recruit, he definitely has that talent, to swing the ball, but I definitely think Arizona is just the team in the spot. They wanted more. You mentioned, some of the guys, second, third round picks, whatnot, who are still playing because what it means to them. But I just think it's a big reason. And then you look at this Oklahoma team, they've been in the spot before. They've been, whether it's a New Year's or, Alamo Bowl or whatever it is. And I give me Arizona first half as well, minus half. I think, honestly, that's a great look to get them both halves, get in, get out. And then obviously the full game spread at -2. I'm just taking them straight up on the money line. I just think they get the job done today and get the win. But I like your confidence in the spread. And then going to the Pacers, look, I think this Bulls team is not good. And you mentioned the Pacers have really been struggling ever since their in-season tournament rise, and I guess now they've fallen a little bit back to earth with just struggling to get any kind of win. But now in this good spot on the road against the Bulls, you mentioned very close spread. You're just taking them to win. So I like those picks for you. Doubling down on the Alamo Bowl game of the night between Arizona and Oklahoma. Arizona first half pretty much just to win, and then covering the full game spread at -2. The Pacers straight up on the money line, -122. Going back to my best bets for today, I'm taking the Rutgers-Miami game in the Pinstripe Bowl under 41.5. The infamous Pop-Tarts Bowl between NC State and K-State, I'm taking the Wolfpack +3, sprinkle in the money line. And then like I said earlier, I'm taking the Wildcats straight up on the money line tonight in the Alamo Bowl at -135. You can also find all of these plays once again on our Twitter below AKP Sports Talk. You will find our full cards posted momentarily. But that's going to do it for this episode of AKP Sports Talk. That is Ari. I am Korea. We'll be back tomorrow. Obviously, we have a huge weekend once again. We got college football all weekend. We have NFL Saturday with a big game between the Cowboys and Lions. We have NFL Sunday. And obviously, Monday, we will be back, obviously, for those who do not know. We'll be having a special college football edition, giving our best bets for, obviously, which is going to be the primary thing of the day, the Rose Bowl, which is between Michigan and Alabama, and the college football playoff, and the Sugar Bowl between Washington and Texas. We'll be having our best bets for those on Monday. But obviously, we will be back tomorrow for Friday to wrap up the week and wrap up the year, because as obviously we'll be back new year. So we're going to do a full recap of the year and look forward to what's coming up on Friday. But that's going to do it for this episode. That is Ari. I'm Korea. We'll see you guys tomorrow.